Michael Brownlow. I was here on November 22nd, 1963, when John Kennedy was killed.
Gerald Posner, and I'm an author and journalist. I've written about the Kennedy assassination, wrote a book in 1993 on the 30th anniversary called Case Closed, Lee Harvey Oswald and the assassination of JFK. In my view and my study, what happened on November 22nd, 1963 is that one just turned 24-year-old guy, sociopath, sort of an anarchist, leftist, Lee Harvey Oswald, and killed Kennedy and put himself in as a successful assassin.
James Files, he was right there. Malcolm Wallace was in the 6th floor window shooting, not Oswald. Charles Nicoletti was on top of the building across the street. The most famous of the 4 shooters, and his name, ladies and gentlemen, was Charles Boyd Harrelson, but he was better known as Charles Hitman Harrelson. In his lifetime, Charles Harrelson shot and killed some 36 people. The conspiracy, ladies and gentlemen, yes. Did Lee Harvey Oswald fire his shots? No. He was in the lunchroom. He was nowhere near the 6th floor window. He fired no shots from that window. They lied.
Yeah, there's a person who testified that she saw Oswald after the assassination, by the way, not at the time, that she saw Oswald in the lunchroom calmly sitting there, and it couldn't therefore have been on the 6th floor, except that's contradicted by contemporaneous statements of not only the Roy Truly, who was the manager of the entire building, but by the police officer who ran into Oswald. He was coming down a little bit out of breath. He did the assassination on the 6th floor, throws the gun on the side because he knows he can't be found with the rifle. He's found with the rifle. Game over. Comes down there very quickly down the staircase. They run into him within 90 seconds of the assassination. And this is absolutely key. People don't know who Oswald is. And when you understand who Oswald is, the one thing nobody will disagree with, even conspiracy theorists, is he was driven by politics. So now get a load of this. Here's a guy who his whole life is politics. He's tried to kill an American general in April of the same year. He's in New Orleans in the summer of '63 trying to get people to join his pro-Castro group. He's gone down to Mexico City in October, a month before the assassination, to try to get to Cuba to join the revolution, but he's turned down by the Soviets and the Cubans. And here's what we are to believe by the witness who says they saw him in the lunchroom, that this fellow, consumed by politics, was eating lunch. He was told the President of the United States has just been shot right outside our building. And you know what Lee Harvey Oswald did, this guy who lives for politics and revolution? According to the story, he then got on a taxi, which he had never taken in his life, to go home to his rooming house. That taxi was too slow, so he got on a bus, went back to his rooming house, grabbed his pistol, went out, and as he was walking, ran into a Dallas policeman who he then loaded 6 bullets into, and then was finally arrested in the Dallas theater. So get the idea that Oswald is truly a patsy, having nothing to do with the assassination. Somebody else pulls it off, finds out that the president has been shot. The Oswald that I know would have stayed there. He would have been outside in Dealey Plaza. He would have been asking questions. He would have said, what happened? He would have wanted to know.
In 1963, it was not a federal crime to kill a president. See, that wasn't no federal crime. So this was under the jurisdiction of the state of Texas and the Dallas Police Department and the Dallas County Sheriff's Office. However, the FBI came and took over the case illegally. They should not have done that.
The conspiracy theorists don't like me because I say it's Oswald alone. And people who love the Warren Commission don't like me because I criticize the Warren Commission. They did get the right conclusion. The underlying conclusion, Oswald did fine. But they had a lot of errors. First of all, it's 9 members. They're appointed by the president. It's sort of a blue ribbon commission. We wouldn't have that today. If the president of the United States was killed, we're not going to, as a country, allow a blue ribbon commission to meet behind closed doors and issue a 24-volume set at the end of a year about what happened. No one's going to believe it. But in addition, there were other problems. They used the FBI and the CIA for their investigation. Those are 2 possible suspects. All right. The FBI destroyed evidence that Oswald had left at a Dallas headquarters. That J. Edgar Hoover, head of the FBI, was petrified that somebody was going to point a finger at him and say, hey, this guy came back from Russia. You didn't think he was a threat, and you didn't know he had a job on the route where the president's motorcade was going by, and he was going to blame the FBI. The CIA, meanwhile, lied to the Warren Commission because they were trying to kill Castro. So the Warren Commission relied on the two agencies it had were protecting their own bureaucratic reputations at the expense of fully allowing the truth to come in. The autopsy was badly done. They didn't have the best forensics doctors in the world do it. They had doctors do it that weren't familiar with forensics, and so there are errors in that autopsy. They also didn't look into motivation. Why did Oswald do it? Which is one of the things people wanted to know. You have to understand, the biggest breakthrough, if you're doing a book on the Kennedy assassination, is to prove once and for all with credible evidence, not speculation or conjecture, that there was a conspiracy. So I went into this, I wasn't sure, but I leaned to the idea that there was a mafia behind it because of Jack Ruby killing Oswald.
This is the basement floor of the Dallas City Hall, and that's a scuffle on the basement floor. It seems to concern photographers.
He has been shot. Oswald has been shot.
Lee Oswald.
In the end, I ended up finding out that it wasn't that story, that it was just Oswald alone. But here's the key part. You have to be suspicious looking at the assassination. It has the earmarks of something that doesn't smell right because of Ruby's murder of him. And then, when you hear all the other things around it, you think, oh, something must be right. So, in the end, I understand why people don't think a 24-year-old guy with a rifle managed to pull off the murder of the president and 2 days later gets killed by a guy with mob connections. There has to be something fishy in it. But in the end, there are conspiracies out there. They certainly happen. The government sometimes does things against our own best interests, no doubt about it. Could it have been a conspiracy? Without a doubt, I looked into it. But in the end, this one wasn't.